Welcome to Rose of the Thorn, where I will be critiquing Mio's character skins and giving my review and rating on them. The rating scale will be from 1 to 5, with 5 being the best and 1 being the worst. If it goes below 1, it will be fair to my wild and thorny rose bushes. I will be using exaggerated images to tell the story as usual, because why not? Until we get to the actual scenes from Onmyoji. If you do not like spoilers or stories, please skip ahead to the character skin critiques. Onmyoji is full of characters that come from Asian folklore. With that being said, I wasn't able to find a Japanese folklore Onmyo, other than the usual kitsune stories of foxes being tricksters. If there is one, please comment below. There is a folklore from Vietnamese mythology that might shed some light on three-tailed foxes. It doesn't mention Mio specifically though. According to Vietnamese mythology, Ho Li Tin, or foxes that have the ability to cultivate and be able to transform and have magic. If they practice for 100 years, then they will have 3 tails and are called Yuho, or Tanbi Yuho. Each tail represents a life, and to unalive a fox, the tail must be cut off first. So, for Mio to only have 3 tails means she must be pretty young in fox demon years. Now for Onmyoji's version. Mio has a sad story. I mean, don't all of them by now? Most folklores always have a sad story or a weird one. Mio's story starts off with her being a super fan of a priestess called Lady Sorceress, and she has a bond with Yao Bikuni as well. Now, before I get started telling you about the story of Mio aka Makoto, could you please click that like button and subscribe? Thank you so much. Now on with the story. A girl called Makoto shapeshifted to appear as a small human girl so that she wouldn't frighten the priestess of the shrine. Over time, the priestess would teach the little girl a ritualistic ceremonial kagura dance. Makoto was given a gorgeous hairpiece by the priestess, who began viewing her as her younger sister. Makoto had a deep-seated secret that she was scared to share with the priestess because she was aware that if she did, the priestess could banish her, or worse, unalive her. Since Makoto was still learning fox magic and was extremely young, she ran away from the priestess when her time limit was up on her fox magic, as she always did. Her 3 large tails emerged from her lower back as she fled from the priestess, revealing what she really was, but she was out of sight and had time to transform herself. Makoto delicately picked up some ripe fruit within her den and held them in her palm like precious gems. She intended to offer them to the priestess, but a heavy smoke enveloped the room and Makoto's granny appeared. The elderly fox gave a fierce snort. Makoto hastily concealed the fruit behind her out of fear. Makoto was harshly chastised by her grandmother, who also advised her not to interact with humans. She showed off her eye and leg, which had been injured by people who had attempted to unalive her in the past. Makoto dropped her fruit and ran out of the cave, and upon leaving her comb fell, and her granny burnt it to a crisp before it hit the ground. Returning to her favorite cherry blossom tree, where she and the priestess would meet, Makoto quickly threw away all of the fruit she had collected upon noticing the priestess in a tense mood. The priestess's hands began shaking when she asked her what happened, and she urged her not to return to the shrine ever again. Makoto neglected to hide her tails. They started to droop dejectedly. She turned around and ran from the scene, distraught, tears streaming down her cheeks. Despite Makoto's repeated visits to the cherry tree, she never again saw the priestess. She was always chased away by the people whenever she got close to the tree, and she came home with injuries. After so many years of practice, she had learned to hide her fox yokai form, but by then the priestess she wished to see under the cherry tree was deceased. Something in Makoto's life vanished with the priestess's passing. The sun had disappeared from her life, and she stopped smiling. She went back to her old den at home and attempted to communicate with her grandmother, who also passed away a long time ago. She tried talking to herself actually. She talked to herself about how her heart was hurting in addition to her body. Makoto gradually became weary of being a spirit. She was then determined to view the world as a human being in order to alleviate the suffering and isolation she was experiencing. In an attempt to find a kind person who would be the one to wait for her at home, she visited both tall homes in the city and farmhouses in the mountains. However, each time she found the strength to come out as herself, she was greeted with fear and expelled. Nevertheless, Makoto recalled the human manners the priestess had taught her. Those who were afraid, she would politely say goodbye and leave them in silence. Makoto used to bring her homemade sakura cakes to the priestess's burial site during cherry blossom season. The cherry blossoms would accompany her to the woman's grave, and she would dance in the spring breeze in the priestess's style, reaching up to collect the falling flowers, but having the petals slip through her fingers. The lifespan of humans is as short as cherry blossoms, she would say. One day, when Makoto had finished visiting the priestess's grave and was ready to leave, she noticed that the village nearby was holding a ceremony. So she hid her tails and joined the crowd. The village was watching an outside play where a person in a priestess costume was tied up in the center of an improvised stage, and the narrator of the play was vividly telling the crowd about the history that Makoto had missed. At that time, the crowd had long suspected that the savage girl who was always with the priestess was not human. Then, one day, after the girl had left the priestess under the cherry tree, she revealed her true form. It turned out that she was Mio, the three-tailed fox. The crowd realized that the priestess was not being honest. She was supposed to protect the villagers from the monsters and spirits, and yet she had refused to provide any information on the fox. So the priestess was punished for her negligence. On stage, a man dressed as a warrior readied his sword, and the screams of the priestess's execution slammed hard on Makoto's heart. Makoto thought it was her fault that the priestess was not alive. Distraught, she hurried from the crowd, feeling more worse than the day the priestess had ordered her away. She realized that the priestess did not send her away out of prejudice, but because she could no longer be with her now that the locals know what Makoto is. Makoto curled up in a freezing, dead-end alley, unable to control the furious expansion of her tail and pointed ears. Darkness quickly seized Makoto's mind. Her pain and self-loathing tore her soul apart, realizing something pure. It was a symbol of her reason and kindness. Mio's purity was stripped away, leaving just her demonic essence. Now, as she walked through the town, she raised it with her foxfire. The peasants had already fled, but Mio was not satisfied with simple destruction. Trust, home, and harbor. For her, those things were out of reach when she noticed something moving in the corner. She wondered if there was still a fearless Onmyoji or warrior lurking there. She whisked the lantern out of her line of sight with a swish of her tails. A white fox cub sat there in the waist, staring at her with shaky eyes. The fox cub deftly sidestepped Mio's attempts to lift it up with her tails. Ignoring it, she continued on. The fox cub, however, began to wander, resolutely following her, but not going near her, but yet not going away. After a lengthy period of abandonment, Mio entered a shrine. The sun shone through. As she delicately brushed the dust off the dresser, she realized that, as a spirit, she really shouldn't be here. Nevertheless, Mio performed the ritual dance with ease. She did not revere the deities in her heart because she had not been blessed by them. She danced just to think about the ideal woman she missed, dressed in red and white. The horrific night came to an end when the sun rose and Mio left the shrine. She was unable to open her eyes due to the intense brightness of the morning sun. Before Mio could lick her wounds, she fainted from exhaustion. The shrine fell to the ground behind her. After the night she found out, Mio stopped going to the cherry grove. She understood how meaningless her existence was. One rainy evening, as she looked at her mirror in a pool of water, even a tiny wave could hit her and shatter her. Then, from the light, a stranger came up to her, held an umbrella tenderly, and invited her, offering to restore her world to its former glory. She questioned whether such a world actually existed. Years passed, as though only the earth remembered the pain in its past. The settlement outside the cherry grove was suddenly teeming with unfamiliar faces, giving the place of a fresh lease on life. All of the laughing and the tears had subsided, leaving Mio with only memories. Mio didn't wait when she returned to the grove. Instead, she went directly to the spot where she and the priestess had first met. It was already late fall, so she wasn't prepared to witness a sea of flowers. All she had wanted was to meet up again in the little woods. Maybe, she thought, the new world does exist. No matter how harsh the stranger's words sounded, she was resolved to stay this time, for the smallest chance that her loved one may come back. She had made the decision to not worry and risk everything. A glimmer of insanity appeared in her eyes. A smile spread across her face as her bewilderment gave way to happiness. As a ripple passed by, a whole new landscape emerged, transforming the wasteland into a magnificent realm with a cherry tree at its heart. New buds appeared on the grove's withered branches, and the shrine recovered its solemnity. The sun was shining brightly when it began to drizzle. In the distance, the trumpet and the drum of a palanquin procession could be heard in the moist, perfumed air beneath the rainbow. Mio came closer, her eyes narrowing. She was shocked to see the priestess. It seemed as though she had been brought back to life after being absent from the temple for many years. But when she approached the woman, she didn't remember her. Was she dreaming? Or is this real? And this concludes the story of Mio. Now, off to the critiques.
まさか本当に忘れてしまったのですか？いや、もう近づかないで。ミコさんの目で彼女たちと同じことをおっしゃるというの？人の命の儚さは桜の花に例えられる。信じる心もまた命のようにもろく壊れやすい。これで分かったでしょ？もう二度と 私から離れないことね。
My favorite thing about this character is the red striped black kimono. However, I dislike it when a character wears only one sleeve. Something about the one sleeve I just really dislike for some reason. I like that her feet resembles her fox form. The hairstyle is nice with the red hairpins at a straight angle. It also resembles an Odon courtesan, and I've mentioned in previous videos several times on how I am really intrigued by Odon hairstyles. Her updo is a remixed version of their hairstyle. It just lacks the fanning of the hair in the front, what the authentic traditional hairstyle would be her hair in the front pulled up into the chocho on the back of her head. I don't feel like the color of her ears match that well though. I know obi are supposed to complement a kimono, but I think her obi doesn't match her kimono at all. It's probably supposed to complement the flowers on her sleeves, but for me personally, I hate when obis are too different from the actual kimono. But I am aware that obis of different patterns are worn with kimonos that might have a different pattern that is very opposite. Obi are supposed to complement the kimono, but in this case, I just don't think this one does that much. I think a solid color would have looked better, because the only gold she has is the hairpins that can barely be seen. The only blue that she has somewhere else is on her leg tattoo and a faded blue flower on her sleeve. But it isn't enough gold and blue to match the obi build. It isn't my favorite skin of hers. I also like that she is a little bow-legged, and I am too. With all of that being said, meh. The white makes her look like Mio 2.0, since this is her evolved look. This skin looks like what she transforms back into when she is inside of her den with her granny. I just wish that the faded black of her feet could have also been a faded black on her hands as well to match her vulpine humanoid form. The skin is nice, but it could have had more. I've seen Onmyoji do bizarre styles. She could have had a long fur kimono or something to judge this up. She looks like she is dressed sort of for winter, since she has a fur pelt and the all white is giving me wintry vibes. I kinda don't know what to rate this. I like the hairstyle and the colors, but it just doesn't wow me for an evolved skin. I also feel like her foxtails are just too big. And with all of that being said, again, meh. This skin looks like what she appeared as when she was trying to make friends with humans in the village, and this outfit looks like a work outfit when the story said she would be around farmhouses and other places searching for a human to befriend again. It reminds me of villagers that wear short aprons in front of their kimono. Her version just has a short kimono on top of a long layer. I don't quite know how to feel about this one either. Her SP form triumphs over every skin that she has for her R version. I also feel like Mio's R version gets neglected a lot. She is an old Shikigami and has been around in this game for years, and still doesn't have that many skins. She isn't in Onmyoji Arena either, but there are so many kitsune in this game that I guess she isn't needed for a different variety in characters. I think Tamamo no Mae is paid the most attention to when it comes down to character skins for foxes. It's like I want to like this outfit, but this as well is eh.
散りゆく花が私たちを二度と分かつことのないように。
苦有千面，变化无常。唯有真心不改。有胆量碰我的耳朵吗？若是心灵相通，人与妖又有何不同？过来吧。花期短暂，却令我念念不忘。只要表象足够美丽，世人就甘愿被迷惑。让我多陪陪你吧，愿落花不再将我们分开。柔美只是我的其中一面。也该让你看看别的了。怎么，这样的我令你胆怯了吗？喜欢我真实的面貌吗？淘气的小家伙。你逃不掉了，蛊惑魅女，为我沉沦吧！别躲着我嘛。
あなたにの狐と本当の自分ダークブルー。Now for what you've been waiting for. I mean, there really isn't nothing to say here. It's a 5 for both. The tails don't even look like tails anymore. They almost look like they are a part of her kimono, and they are stunning. Everything about this is stunning. I really like the saucy walk she did when she was walking up to her friend. It's like she was walking down a runway. As for her dark blue version, it kind of looks like the evil version of herself. It is a 5 as well. Dorino Hill.
邪魔者は取り除かないとね。千の顔を持つ狐もその心だけは移ろうことがないわ。これが本当の私。気に入ってもらえた？
I'm absolutely enchanted by the flourishing forestry theme they've woven into this skin. It exudes a remarkable elegance that dances through every detail. The color palette is nothing short of breathtaking, so soft and harmonious, evoking a whimsical charm. This masterpiece is truly captivating. I can't find a single flaw to diminish its beauty. Without a doubt, it deserves 5 roses. She almost looks like a fairy with the colors that they chose, especially if they added some butterfly wings to her. And her tails again look like they are a part of the kimono. Sakura no Tougenjutsu. When she is laying on the flower, she looks beautiful, and this skin looks very amazing. But when the flower disappears, and you realize that this is supposed to be a SJ skin, it looks rather dull. It's like they downgraded her. And I also remember people not liking this one very much. In my opinion, SJ skin should always upstage all the other skins. I actually feel like it is too soon for her to have one, since her SP form doesn't have that many skins yet. She needed more different variations before she received an SJ skin. I'm not quite sold on the short kimono. I think the reason why they kept this skin red and white is because of the priestess she used to visit, and Shinto priestesses wear white and red. That's probably why there's a picture of a torii gate at the end of the flower's petal. She carries a piece of her friend wherever she goes, and she is carrying the comb that the priestess gave her. The comb is actually not supposed to exist because her granny burnt it up with her foxfire powers. So I guess since this skin takes place in some sort of new reality or dream world, she has to comb again. Hence the name of the skin. I feel like the chrysanthemum that she is laying on is upstaging the entire kimono because it is enormous hues of pink and red with artwork inside of the petals. As for her kimono, it is just simple and short. I was looking at the comments section when the video came out and I saw that others were thinking the same way. I don't know how people feel recently though, since now you can change the color of SJ's skins. Her default skin looks better than this since her tails were made in such a beautiful way that they look like they were part of her outfit. But now her tails are short and not that attractive. I like her hairstyle with the hairpins, but I kinda wish they would have given her a different hair color. I'm just not fond of smoky gray hair. She could have been given an elaborate bizarre priestess outfit with red and pink chrysanthemums budding from the kimono and some giant chrysanthemum hairpins. And if it looked like too much, then the flower could be floating beneath her while she hovers over it like a materasu. But then she would probably start looking like Hingambana a little. But since she likes hanging around spiritual people like Lady Sorceress and Yao Bikuni, they both wear red and white, so her outfit could have been geared more towards the priestess style with long robes. It's just some food for thought. I don't really know what to rate this since I only like parts of the hairstyle minus the hair floating in the back. On the giant chrysanthemum, I guess I would give it 2 roses since I like 2 things about it.
花は散り、二度と戻らぬかの君よ。私はもう無力な小狐じゃないわ。花は散り、二度と戻らぬかの君よ。飽きてきたわ。この姿どうかしら。あら、そんなに急いでどこに行くの？この姿を見られちゃった以上逃がさないわよ。あら、お姉さんが遊んであげるわ。夢もうつつも心一つで全てが決まる。